What's up, guys? I'm gonna be talking about sexual aids, kind of giving you a rundown how they manifest and what to expect and all of that shit. So let's get into it. So as we know in the descriptions of sexual aids, they're described as very emotional, expressive, and limbic, and blah 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 blah. Now people take those words, limbic and emotional, and then you start seeing those kind of flying unicorns, ENFPs, thinking they're fucking SX8s because oh, I am an emotional person. I love feelings, and suddenly you are an SX8, and fuck no. Okay, that's not how this works, boys. So, when they say it's a limbic type or it's an emotional type, they don't mean you being all cozy and emotional in that sense of like gentle feelings. They mean an obvious expression of intense emotions like anger. Okay, now let's clear this up. All eights have the same dilemma, and that dilemma is inner deadness. And what that means is it's basically like a person with a callous skin. It's a very thick skin that's it takes a lot for eights to kind of experience stimulation, so they kind of require a lot of it. It needs to be a strong signal, strong stimuli to move the eight in an emotional way, which is why you often see eights SX8s and those alike engaging in fights in driving recklessly and anything that is very intense that would shake everyone else up and would make everyone else afraid. But that's the only way that this huge stimuli can kind of satisfy the eight. Okay, so that's what it is. So SX8s are emotional in an expressive expression of anger that don't mistake them for being cozy and emotional like some other types, like a 2 or a 4. Don't expect that. Okay. So so that's what we know. Important to kind of know that SX8s are very instinctual and very a type that's driven by their compulsions and their needs and their desires. So they're quick to kind of act in that sense, you know. So due to having low inhibition and seeking intensity, it's important to understand that the intensity that they're seeking is different. It's sensory, correct? Listen, it's sensory, so it's still sensory, right? But it's quite different than an SP8. Okay, because SP8 wants to satisfy their physical needs and their materialistic needs and all of that stuff. Yes, but for the sexual 8, the sensory is in a sense where it's all about some kind of physical stimuli, or they're extremely restless. They need to be on the go, so they need to engage in stuff that kind of makes them feel alive in that sense, to occupy their mind and their bodies. So that is what it is. So it's very intense type that kind of looks for that fix, you know, that kind of fix to kind of satisfy them. Um, You'd also expect higher reactivity from sexual aids, so they're more because they're so expressive with the anger, they're gonna be more reactive, and higher aggressiveness. Not because they're so hostile, not exactly, but because of low inhibition. So the brakes are not as strong for sexual aids. So any strong emotion, any strong like any anger, anything that they have like a compulsion to do something, they'll act on it with no regard. You know, like they're gonna be extremely quick to act on their needs. Okay. They also SX8s also are very charismatic and often energetic, highly energetic individuals. This is what you need to understand. So extremely entertaining people who want to capture people around them. They want to capture people's attention. They want to get people's attention. They're often described as very like colorful, different like colorful feathers and all of that shit because they want to display themselves to the world around them. And the way it's gonna be like my fucking ballsack is bigger than yours. I have the biggest fucking ballsack in the whole town. Let me show you. So they're very daring, very bold, and they kind of want to be like, oh, look at me, I am the fucking shit, and extremely, they can be cocky, entertaining, and very expressive in their manifestation. So again, energy, charisma. You see this in Conor McGregor. If you watch any of his press conferences, like with Jose Aldo, you can Google that shit. You'll see um, how intense he is. He's all about, like, he's so entertaining. There's so much bravado, and that's what you'd expect in sexual aids. A lot of bravado, a lot of my balls and my dick's the biggest, and you'd see it, like, extremely expressive with it. They don't give a fuck. So great showman, very great showman for that, for sure. Then we have another thing, which is like surrendering. It's possessiveness and surrendering, and what it means. So there are some people in the community who think sexual aids like to get ass fucked and they like to get pegged. Bend over and no. Listen, let's clear this shit up. Surrender doesn't mean they like you to peg them. It's not gonna fucking happen. It is not going to happen. Okay. What it means what more likely means is that they're willing to sacrifice themselves. They're willing to give themselves to you fully, to a full extent. Um, Basically uniting themselves with you, kind of having a fusion almost, be possessing you and becoming one. That's kind of what might happen in when it means surrender. But it doesn't fucking mean I'ma lay yo, I'ma fucking bend over and you're gonna peg me. That's not how this shit works, guy. Damn. Um. So possessiveness, and again, right? So they're extremely can be quite possessive with people, with their romantic relations, and when unhealthy, this can manifest as them almost like treating people as objects for their own pleasure and their own satisfaction. So that is what can be. They can almost feel like they own people, and that's why they can be so controlling when they're very unhealthy. Again, not the average type. But now another thing. So they also are so focused on being the kind of always going full in, always being very obsessive in what they do. So when they focus on being the best fuck buddy, when they focus on being the best whatever the fuck, they will pour their whole heart into it. It becomes their obsession. If it's their job, if it's their sex life, it's their partner, if it's anything, they'll pour the 100% into it, and they'll dedicate themselves into almost like an obsessive frenzy. So that is what you can kind of see in it with them. Now, sexual 4 and sexual 8, are they similar? Because there's so many people like, yeah, kind of. I've seen people think they're SX4, then I see them type as SX8. To me, it doesn't make any fucking sense. How can any human being on this planet Earth think they're fucking SX4 and SX8? Like confusing those fucking two types. Okay, now I know. Well, the descriptions say that they're more. They can seem like SX4. Yeah, descriptions say SX8s like to get fucking pegged. It doesn't mean anything. Basically, what I'm gonna explain now. Sexual aids are very intellectual, imaginative, a person who actually struggles with their own will and asserting their will to take things that they want. That is something you need to understand. So there's also a lot of um, withdrawing. They're withdrawn types. So there's a lot of those kind of elements: introversion, intellectualism. Yes, they're gonna be more expressive than other fours and more angry, but they're still coping machines. They're coping. They're gonna have those negative emotions, depressiveness, melancholia, low self-esteem, like kind of like big ego, but then inferiority complex, and kind of all those weird internal battles that they have. So this is something you would never see in an SX8. SX8s are one of the most extroverted, one of them probably the most energetic, externally focused type. Okay, there's so little going inside in terms of their insight, that there's nothing to deal with. There's no melancholia, there's no sadness, there's no loss of esteem, none of that shit. So they're completely focused on grabbing what's in front of them, always externally focused. And again, very more sensory, more in the moment. They're considered more anti-intellectual because why are they considered anti-intellectual? Because they are so they prioritize their desires, and when they feel something like anger, they will express it immediately. So in that sense, they're anti-intellectual. They're not systematic, they're not calculated, they're quick. So remember that. And again, SX4s just are very, there's a range of emotions that they struggle with their willpower, and other stuff that you would never see. And SX8 is gonna be have an abundance of overconfidence when it comes to their willpower, that they think they can take on the fucking world while grabbing their fucking ballsack. That is an SX8. SX8 is not a soapy cunt looking at the fucking mirror and be like, I'm so bad. I'm so bad. But look, I'm so ugly, but I'm gonna hate other people. That's not fucking SX8. SX8 is like, damn, look at my fucking big ballsack. That's my fucking ballsack. I'm the king. And then the SX8 goes around fucking preaching they're the king. So fucking hilarious. But yeah, okay, you get what I'm saying. Now, what types can be SX8? This is time to let's completely dismantle the kind of weird theories some people have. Okay, now the biggest one, ENTJ SX8. There's nothing in ENTJ in a TE dominant that resembles sexual 8. Let's fucking clear that up completely. Okay, so ENTJs are a way more structured, logical type, focused on organizing the environment, focusing on pragmatic results. Those are the fucking things that they're focused on. And way more structure, having an auxiliary, way more cautious, way more intellectual in that sense. Okay? SX8s are the most unstructured type, like the most unstructured 8 type, okay, subtype. They're the most anti intellectual in a sense, again, whimsical desires, anything, they act on that. And limbic and very expressive and always indulgent in intense stimulation. That's their primary fucking fix. Their primary fix is getting that stimulation. It's getting that fix. It's not the result of the fight that they give a fuck. They want the fight itself. The process of the fight is what gives them this thrilling experience. Okay? So that is what you guys need to understand about the whole ENTJ and SX8. It's just this doesn't happen. Expect so ESFPs and ESTPs, two types you can expect being sexual 8s. The rest you can forget about. It's not gonna fucking happen. To all of you watching this, maybe you're an ENFP, fucking whatever you came from Reddit. This is newsflash for you. I know, but it's better if you know this. It's for the fucking greater good of typology. Okay. And yeah. So of course, in socionics, it would be like SEE being the archetype, but also it could be SLE. Now the SLE has to be a C subtype. Okay, let's fucking make the point here. It has to be a C subtype, so it makes it more irrational in a sense, way not as TI focused, not as structured. So again, fits the SX8 much better. I think I've said all of the things I wanted to say about sexual 8. So that's it. I'm gonna wrap it up. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We in touch.